You ever hear of Devil's Hollow, Kentucky? Most people haven't. It's not marked on any map, and folks don't talk about it unless they have a reason to. If you drive through eastern Kentucky today, somewhere outside Hyden, near the middle fork of the Kentucky River, you'd pass right by it without ever knowing it was there. People will tell you it's just another bend in the hills, another hollow swallowed up by trees. But that's not how the story was first told to me. I'm Rowan, and this is OTRA Legends. I first heard about Devil's Hollow from my father when I was about 9 years old. We were riding back roads one afternoon, the kind he always preferred, narrow lanes where pavement gave up and gravel took over. He slowed the truck near a gap in the mountains and went quiet, the way he did when we passed places that carried weight. When I asked him why, he didn't look at me. He just said, "That road used to go somewhere else." He told me Devil's Hollow wasn't just a place. It was a story people stopped telling out loud. Not because it wasn't true, but because no one ever found a clean way to explain it. Families passed it down quietly, the same way they passed down warnings. Don't take that road. Don't camp near that hollow. Don't assume the past stays buried just because you can't see it. But to understand why Devil's Hollow lingered like that, you have to know what this part of eastern Kentucky was like when the story takes place. In 1961, Leslie County sat near the bottom of almost every list you didn't want to be on. Poverty, isolation, lack of infrastructure. Roads were boundaries. A gravel lane through a gap in the mountain might look like nothing to an outsider, but to the people who lived here, it marked the edge of where you belonged and where you didn't. Crossing that line without knowing could be a mistake you didn't get to make twice. According to the story, it was the summer of 1961 when two young men on break from college, James and Charles, had driven down from Lexington in search of a place to camp and fish. They stopped in town late that afternoon to get gas and ask for directions. Someone at the station pointed them toward a gravel road through the gap and said it would lead them down into a hollow along the river. That road existed then, and parts of it still exist now. You see, in 1961, Lexington might as well have been another country compared to Leslie County. College students driving down from the city brought with them different accents, different expectations, and a kind of casual confidence that didn't always play well in places like the Middle Fork Valley. As they neared the gap, fog rolled in fast and heavy. Their headlights became useless and the trees disappeared. Then the fog lifted all at once. They came out into full daylight, not dusk or evening, but afternoon sun. The road beneath them no longer looked right, deeply rutted like wagon wheels had cut it instead of tires. There were no power lines, no fences, nothing that said 1961. Down in the hollow stood a log cabin with smoke rising from its chimney. Horses were tied nearby. Men stood on the porch wearing clothes that belonged to another century. One of those men stepped forward and demanded to know who they were and why they were on his land. The man was known as Devil Joe Callahan, a name that echoed with a mix of fear and respect. He moved with the assured gait of one who was accustomed to authority, his presence demanding attention. This hollow, a secluded valley, belonged to his family. When the two young men tried to explain, he studied their vehicle like it was something unnatural. He asked where their horses were and what animal pulled their wagon. When one of them mentioned the year, Devil Joe corrected him and said the year was 1879. That's when it became clear they hadn't just wandered into an isolated place. They had somehow crossed into another time. Devil Joe didn't kill them. Instead, he kept them close, where he could see them. A mere breath away, where he could always keep a watchful eye on their every move. Over the next several days, the two men lived with the Callahans. They slept in the loft, hunted squirrels, and fished the river. Life there was stripped down to essentials: food hunted or grown, water carried by hand, light coming from fire. Small details kept confirming something was wrong with time. Tools were hand-forged and worn smooth. Rifles looked older than anything modern hunters carried. The children had never seen electricity. Even the way people spoke felt older, shaped by isolation instead of modern life. James adapted to this way of life, but Charles did not. Charles counted days and watched the road, convinced time should have corrected itself by now. He wanted to force their way back through the gap. James felt something different. He sensed the hollow had rules, and breaking them carelessly would get them killed. It was during those days that Devil Joe spoke about the feud. The Deatons lived over the ridge in another hollow. A misunderstanding had turned into an argument and then a beating then turned into a gunshot, and a gunshot into a death. After that, loyalty demanded repayment, and repayment demanded more blood. Devil Joe talked about his sons beaten in the rain, one shot in the leg, another ambushed and killed. He talked about cattle driven off at night and barns burned as warnings. Peace had been offered once and refused. In those hills, law traveled slow and family traveled fast. At night, Devil Joe spoke about the war, about fog swallowing soldiers who never came back, and about strange lights seen in the sky long before anyone had names for them. He said he didn't believe in ghosts, but he believed some places didn't let go of violence once it soaked in. After more than a week, Charles said they might never get back. James tried to calm him and repeated what Devil Joe had said about the road through the gap leading back toward town. The decision was taken out of their hands. One night the woods went silent. No insects, no frogs, no wind. Devil Joe heard a sound from the ridge and said it wasn't a bird. It was a signal. Doors were barred and windows shuttered. Rifles were loaded. Ammunition laid out. Devil Joe handed pistols to the visitors and apologized. He said logs could stop bullets, but fire would kill them all. Shots cracked through the darkness. Then came the wagon. The Deatons had loaded it with hay and rocks, set it on fire, and sent it down the slope. It smashed into the cabin wall and burning debris poured inside. Gunfire followed immediately. Men fell where they stood. Women were shot trying to move children. Smoke filled the cabin and flames climbed the walls. Charles was killed almost instantly. As the cabin burned, Devil Joe ordered James to run. He told him to take the body, get to the Jeep, and drive for the gap. James ran. He drove until flashing lights cut through the darkness and sirens pulled him back into 1961. Police stopped him just outside town. They listened to his story and then told him the truth. The Callahans had been dead for more than 80 years. The cabin was gone. The road was gone. The hollow had reclaimed everything. One man returned. One did not. And that should have been the end of it. A single story locked to a single place and time. But places like this don't always stay quiet after the people are gone. In the years that followed, folks around Hyden would tell you the river kept taking people. Hunters who didn't come back. Men walking between hollows who never arrived. Sometimes a body turned up downstream, weeks later. Sometimes nothing turned up at all, and the river became the answer. During the 1940s, a young boy was found alone near a bend in the river, sitting on a rock above the water. He told neighbors his family had gone down a hollow to check on something and told him to wait. They never came back. No remains were ever recovered. The boy was sent away, and the hollow went quiet again. There were other stories too, spread out just enough not to draw attention. Families who packed up after a death or accident and left a hollow empty. Roads that stopped being used without any official explanation. Folks would say the road washed out, even when it hadn't. Or that there was nothing back there worth seeing anymore. Taken one at a time, none of these stories sound unusual for Appalachia. A missing hunter, a child found alone, a hollow that empties out and never refills. But lined up along the same ridges and the same water, they start to feel connected. Not by proof, but by repetition. That's when I went back there myself. I wasn't looking for answers or proof, just trying to see the place with my own eyes. There's no sign for Devil's Hollow, no marker or pull-off, nothing that tells you to slow down. The road still winds the way it always has, quiet and narrow, following the land instead of cutting through it. I pulled my truck over near where the old gravel road once broke off and sat with the engine off. The air smelled like wet leaves and creek water. Somewhere below, the river moved slow and steady, the same way it always has. The hollow looked ordinary. Trees sparse from winter. No cabin, no clearing, no sign that anything had ever burned there. Just woods doing what woods do, reclaiming everything given enough time. But the quiet felt heavy. Not peaceful, just settled. The kind of silence that comes after something has already happened and can't be undone. Standing there, it was easy to imagine smoke rising from a chimney, horses by the creek, and a family living close together because that was the only way to survive. I thought about 1879 and how close it can feel when a place never fully leaves it. Then I thought about 1961. Two young men easing down that road believing they were headed toward a fishing spot and nothing more. Same hills, same creek, same gap. Different rules. Some stories don't want to be solved. They want to be carried. Devil's Hollow is one of those stories, a piece of hidden Appalachian history wrapped in folklore, passed down because no one ever found a clean way to explain it. And once you hear it, you don't forget where it happened. I'm Rowan, and this is OTRA Legends. Until next time, happy hunting.